Okay, so I've been asked to introduce the Search IV project, which is based at UNC. Who's below? Joe is a MD in infectious disease, but is based almost entirely in China, heading up the UNC China research program for HIV and STIs. Stuart is a bioethicist, and he's based at UNC while he's here. He travels a lot as well. So just a brief overview of this project. We have funding for 5 years currently. This is the 3rd year. Year 1 was looking at history. As I said, this is a very multidisciplinary project. We have historians and sociologists and anthropologists and bench scientists and others. So that first year was about the history of different sorts of cures and diseases that have made the transition from untreatable to treatable, treatable to curable. And then I came on in the 2nd year and was charged with landscape mapping and stakeholder analysis. And this was just to get a better sense of who in the Triangle region is doing or interested in HIV cure-related research, and to conduct. So that was the landscape mapping, and then the stakeholder analysis was actually conducting interviews with these people across the board. So people living with HIV, people who are activists or part of community-based organizations, as well as the scientists themselves. Anyone really who has any interest in HIV cure, we consider a stakeholder. So I think that includes all of us here today. And then the next part, which Allison is heading up in the project and we'll speak about later, is the community engagement component of the project, which is the big new flagship area of our research. So what inspired Joe and Stuart to look at HIV cure research, I think at least in part were these, quite a few high-profile breakthroughs or developments in HIV cure-related research. I think everyone here is probably familiar with these 3 cases, for examples.
I don't think everybody here is familiar.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right, well, so there's people haven't heard of the Mississippi Baby at all? Okay. So this was in, let's see, what year is that?
2012.
2012 was it? An announcement was made that there was a baby born to an HIV positive mother who didn't know she was HIV positive. And within, I think, 30 hours after birth, the child was given ART. And some, I think 18 months later, 18 months later, the child fell out of care and then came back into a care, I think a year after that or something. And so hadn't been on ART in that time, but was found to be undetectable. And so this was sort of an announcement of a potential cure for HIV in the child. But then in July 2014, the HIV returned. And so it wasn't a cure. But we have then the Visconti cohort, which we have these. David, are they considered long-term non-progressors? Is that right? The Visconti cohort, or how do we
They're
classify?
different than that. It's not exactly clear what those individuals are, but basically, over more than a decade in France, there were people who, at the time, you could go into a doctor and get treated for HIV when you found out you had HIV, and there were clinicians in France who began to have the reputation that they would treat people early or basically any time. So when some people found they were infected by other means, they would go to these clinics and get on treatment. And so they were collected as part of the cohort. The number of people in the cohort is unclear. It's over 700 people. During that, and so these people were treated very early in HIV infection. Over time, a bunch of those people on treatment decided for various reasons to stop treatment. 14 of them did not have viral rebound. And so for and it's unclear why. And these people have now been followed for a couple of years, 1 or 2, or maybe 3. They aren't particularly different than anything else as far as people can tell, as far as their genetics or their immune response to HIV. So why they appear to be what are called post-treatment controllers is unclear.
All right. Thank you. And then the final example I have here is the Berlin patient, Timothy Ray Brown, who is the only individual thought to be cured of HIV. And the risks versus benefits of research, informed consent, community engagement, the language that we actually use, curative misconception, access to research, and the knowledge environment. So I'll kind of touch on each of these briefly. So when we talk about scientific validity, what we're looking for is, is the research designed well enough to answer the research question? But in collaboration with the communities and the other individuals affected in taking part in the research. So, any questions or anything? That was a very brief introduction to the ethical issues we're thinking about in terms of HIV cure research.
I have a question.
Sure.
What do you want people to believe that participate in cure research? What do you want them to believe? You don't want them to believe that it's a cure
Right.
at the end of this, or if I participate.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the goal?
So I think the goal would be if participants have a very clear understanding of what is involved in the research, what they can expect from the research, and what is the point? Where is this going? I think understanding that this is just about a next step forward in the science is one of the most important things. David Margolis, do you have anything to add? For what you would like
I think we
your...
generally want people to understand the risks and the benefits of participating in research.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time talking about the risks of